Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk about how I met my Filipino girlfriend. It all happened back in 2015. I'd actually been planning on dating somebody from out of the country. I'd always wanted to do that and just see how everybody thinks differently and everything. So actually what I did first, I wasn't even looking for a Filipino girlfriend. I was on a Chinese dating site, and it was a very small dating site, but it was a paid site and everything. And I met this girl named Phoebe, and she was probably like 2 months older than me, but we still graduated the same year of school and everything. And we really hit it off. And shortly after we met, another girl on the website had messaged me or whatever, and she was from the Philippines. And I politely told her, I was like, I'm sorry, but I, uh, I already met somebody and everything's going really well here. So I'm going to pursue this relationship and all that. And she's like, oh, okay. Thanks for letting me know, and best of luck there. So me and the Chinese girl, we continued our getting to know each other and everything, and I really wanted to come over and see her. And it turns out in order for an American to get a visa to come over to China, it's pretty tough. And this is, like I said, this is back in 2015. And so I called up the embassy to find out what were the restrictions to do this and all that. And they said that I needed a copy of her ID card for her country, and then also a written letter from her to the embassy that she was going to take care of me, and so I won't be like some freeloader that's stuck in their country and that their government has to pay to support me and all that. So she ended up mailing me a copy, or faxing me a copy of her government ID or whatever, and then that letter. And then I also had to pay the $1,400 for the non-refundable plane ticket. They want all this stuff paid up front before they'll even consider you for a Chinese visa. And this is just for a tourist. So I went ahead and I paid the $1,400 for the plane ticket, and I got all that done and got the visa. And right before I was gonna leave, maybe like a week before or so, she, in an email there, she's like, I don't, I'm sorry to do this to you, but she's like, I'm kind of dumping you or whatever, and and that was it, no call on video chat or anything like that. And I was like, oh shoot. So I went ahead and I messaged back that Filipina, and I told her the story there, and she's like, really? She's like, if I was you, I'd be pissed. and and I was like, yeah, well, it's more, I'm disappointed. I'm on my $1,400, but the Chinese girls like, yeah, you can still come visit our country and everything. You got the visa and all that. And I was like, I was coming to visit you, and plus I'd never left the United States before, so it was scary going to a different country and not knowing how to speak the language. And there were no language translators back at the time. We didn't have Google app or Google Translate on our smartphones or any of that. I know there was some technology they were talking about, like a necklace that you could wear and talk into it, and it would translate to different messages. But I don't know if the technology was out, and I'm sure would have been very expensive when it would have hit the market. So I didn't have that option back then. So I was pretty afraid of it. So I was visiting with that Filipina, and she's like, well, you should come visit me. You should see how much it would cost to change that plane ticket over. And I was like, okay. And it was nice getting to know her. And she's like, yeah, I'll show you around the Philippines and all that. So I called up the airline company, and they told me that I could change it for an extra $450. So it changed the plane ticket up to $1,850 total. But I guess I would have been out of the 1,400 anyways, because I wouldn't have gone to that trip to China anyways. And me and her got to really know each other over the next, I don't know, month and a half, whatever. Yeah, well, it was a month and a half before I flew out there. And she was a senior in college, and so she's gonna have me come visit her over spring break. And it just happened that spring break was over Valentine's Day, so that was pretty darn cool. And I remember being on that flight there, and I was so nervous because I'd only flown once in my life down to Florida back in 2008. So I was 24 at that time, and it was a long time. It was just in the United States, and this time here. I was leaving the country, and so when I left the United States here, we flew into, well, it wasn't we, it was me, but I flew into Hong Kong, and the connecting flight was so tight, and I pretty much ran it through the airport just as the last person was getting on the plane there, and I was like, I'm not too late, I'm not too late. And the lady that was getting ready to close the door, she's like, let me see your plane ticket. She looked at it and she's like, yep, you can get on. You just made it. And she's like, you would have to stay in this airport here until the next day or whatever. And I was like, oh, thank God. And I was thinking in my head, I didn't say anything to her, but I was like, I don't think that they had time to move my bags from the other plane to that one, because I had my 2 checked luggage bags. And they were big and all that. So I got in the plane and flew in the Philippines, and I didn't have a smartphone at that time anyways. I just brought my laptop, and I got off the airport and went to go check for my luggage, and only one of my checked bags was there, and I was so nervous. I went to go talk to one of the guys working there at the baggage claim there, and he's like, yeah, we can get it in tomorrow. It'll come in on the next flight that's coming into Manila, Philippines. And I was like, and I also went ahead and I gave him my girlfriend's phone number, because I didn't have any phone or anything like that to call her to let her know that I was there. And so he went ahead and he called the phone number, and I visited with my girlfriend a little bit, and I was like, I've never been to this airport before, of, where we can meet in here, and I gave him the phone back, and he visited with her, and he's like, yep, she said that he told both of us to go meet at the money exchange. So I walked over there, and also before that happened, I had my girlfriend visit with him about my lost bag, and she visited with him, and she gave him her phone number for when my lost bag would come in. So I walked over to the money exchange there, and I was getting my exchange, and turned around, and there was my girlfriend standing there with one of her college classmates there, and yeah, my girlfriend looked just like in the photos, just beautiful and really nice and everything. And it turned out that the taxi that she set up for us was actually her best friend, her friend with her classmate there. It was her uncle. He has his own taxi service, and she said that they'd actually been waiting at the airport for like 2.5 hours for me, because my flight came in late actually, and they just wanted to make sure that that they would be waiting there for me, that I won't be not know what to do if they weren't there or whatever. So, which was very considerate of her. And so then we her friend and her uncle with their taxi, they dropped us off at our hotel room that my girlfriend had already set up for us there. And then early the next morning, they she's like, "Yep, my family wants to meet you." It was actually her. It wasn't her dad yet, but her sister and her brother-in-law wanted to meet me. So we met them at the mall and all had dinner, and we all wanted to go see that movie. Well, they wanted to see the movie World of Warcraft back in 2016. So I was like, okay, I've never seen it. I've never been into those movies yet, and we waited in such a long line. The Philippines, I didn't realize how many people are actually there in the outskirts of Manila. Like, their shopping malls are way bigger than ours in the United States. And it was like from one end to the other of the mall was just people waiting in line for their movie tickets. So we sat a lot of times along the wall waiting as the line slowly started moving up. And then we got into the movie theater, and like a lot of the couples, because it was Valentine's Day, everybody was there with their honey, and we were doing our double date there too. And a lot of couples were way in the back, but their big screens look tiny, like you can barely see them. So I was like, nope, let's sit about in the normal range, like halfway up the movie theater. And it was way better then. And yeah, then we went to the new Deadpool movie, because I was really anxious to see that one. It wasn't actually the new one, it was the first one. I really want to see it, and they were big into that stuff too. And then we went to go meet her dad, because their parents are separated and her mom lives in a different province. And the whole time there she kind of showing me around how everything, like our hotel room did not have air conditioning, so it was just miserable in there. It was so hot. You'd get up in the middle of the night and you could barely breathe. Like I never experienced that type of heat, and I've always liked the heat. Because like I spent a lot of time in Florida over the years, and so we got into the grocery store and like even the restaurants, they didn't have refrigerators for any of the Powerade or water or anything. All they had was ice cubes and stuff like that. So I mostly just got bottles of water, and they were lukewarm. And with it being that hot, so we got to this nice restaurant, and they had iced tea there, and it was nice and cold with all that ice, and I just floundered on it. It was so good. And that night at about 11 o'clock, I was sick as a dog. And then the next day, and I was just, yeah, I was terribly sick, and it lasted for maybe 2 days, and it still didn't go away. So her and her sister thought that maybe I better go to the doctor, and I'm glad I listened to them, because they ended up taking me to a doctor, and it was a long ride there because we were in one of those little jeepneys. It's kind of like this little open bus that looks like it's from like the 1930s, but they still build them. And they took me there, and the doctor did a bunch of tests on me, and they said I got infected with E. coli, and they think that it was from the ice cubes instead of the iced tea is what made me sick. So they went ahead and they put me on IVs. They kept me in the hospital for 2 days and had me on IVs, and my girlfriend was there by my side the entire time, sleeping on the little rocking chair next there, making sure I was all right. Just she was the most decent human being I'd ever met. It was amazing how loving and caring of a person that she was, and all that. So after I got nursed back to health again, and they got me on the plane, she's like, I was afraid that when I got back to the United States, she's like, I was afraid that you weren't ever going to come back and see me after your bad experience. And I was like, no. I was like, but I won't ever have ice in your country again. And then I got to come back in November for 2 weeks to go visit her outside of Manila, and it was nice. So yeah, if any of you are ever thinking about dating a Filipina, I'd say go for it. They are like, yeah, like I say, the most decent human beings. Like in the Midwest here in the United States, everybody's like really nice and friendly and all, but it's just like another extreme when you go there of just how good the people really are. The lifestyle though, it's not someplace I'd actually want to live though. I did realize that even after the second time, because I wanted to make sure I gave it another go over there. Just the heat right on the equator, I'd never experienced anything like that, and like being so hard to breathe. And then there was a lot of pollution, but like I said, that heat was not for me. And there really was not much fun stuff to do, because like the second trip, we went to the Manila Ocean Park, which is like SeaWorld, and they really didn't have that much stuff there. I think they did have some penguins there, and they only had 2 little sharks, and they were like 3 feet long. They were the tiniest sharks I'd ever seen, and no killer whales or anything like that. Just they had a couple seals doing some tricks or whatever. But yeah, like I said, if any of you are ever thinking about dating a Filipina, I'd say go for it. And like, even if it doesn't work out, it's great to get out of the country and like see how other people think and live. And you might want to date somebody from somewhere else, because in the end, my girlfriend, I ended up breaking up with her after a year of dating. And like I said, she was nice, and there was nothing wrong there. She just wasn't the girl that I want to have kids with someday. But yeah, definitely go for it. All right, take care, my friends.